So we have talked about education and the importance of education. We have been discussing what education can do in someone's life. And so we have discovered a few importances of education here and there, and we have already discussed them. So we are going to talk about what causes lack of education, what makes a person not to be educated, or what contributes to lack of education. To begin with, it is very simple for a person or for a community or a society not to be educated. For example, if you don't have schools, or if you lack schools, then it goes without saying that there will be a lack of education. The unavailability of schools in a given region or a given area is a reason for lack of education. And a school means much or means a lot than just a few buildings here and there. There are elements which comprise or which make a school to be called a school. For example, we have books in school, we have the buildings themselves, we have pupils or the students, we have teachers, and so many others. So you can have the building, yes, but if you lack all those other elements, then that will not be called a school. It will be something else. So lack of schools causes a lack of education. There are places in this world where you don't have even the buildings themselves. So where do we expect students to go and learn? That's a very big problem. There are no schools around, or they are very far. You can't walk there. Children can't walk long distances to school. So that causes lack of education. They prefer, other than walking long distances, they just stay at home and do other things. So children grow up lacking education. So the next generation or the future society will be uneducated. So it begins from far. If the schools are a problem, then education will also be a problem. And remember, we have said that for a community or a society or a nation or an economy to grow, education is a key factor. For a country to develop, education should be number one. Lack of education will drop down the economy of a given nation or of a given country. Lack of education is also caused by, let's call it, some kind of ignorance. You find that a given community does not understand the importance of education. A given society does not know the importance of good education, of good quality education. So you realize that they will not send their children to school. Not knowing the importance of education causes a lack of education. Because if the parents don't know the meaning, don't know the importance, don't know the reason why people should be in school, then they will not take their children to school. In that society, you will be uneducated and there will be a problem. We are talking about how education helps a person to live, how education is life to an individual or to a given nation. So if you don't know the meaning of something, then you not dare do it. Yeah? When Africa had no education at all, the whites came and introduced education to this continent. People were ignorant. They didn't know the meaning of education. So they never bothered to go to school. There were no schools. There was nothing. It was just children are being born and they just leave. They start working at early age because there was nothing else to do. So not knowing the importance of going to a school or the importance of being educated will cause a lack of education to an individual, to a community, to a society, even to a country. And in the world, you have so many communities which have not yet embraced the meaning of education. So they have a problem. And they view that those who are educated can't waste their time. And the reason that they have nothing else to do other than going to stay in classes and doing other things there. So if you don't know the meaning of education, I doubt that you will ever attempt to learn something. We are trying to rise up from our lower levels, and one of the ways of rising up is through education, is through learning, through teaching. Education, lack of education is also caused by let's say lack of funds. If you don't have money, remember education is not that cheap. Education is a bit expensive because you have to buy books, you have to buy uniform, you have to buy, you have to have food, you need to have money for fees. So lack of money will cause many people not to attend school, and that will cause lack of education. You see, when you don't have money, many people today in the world are lagging behind because they didn't get quality education. You can have education that cannot help you. You can have a very low level kind of education that it won't take you anywhere. We say that education can protect you. Education enlightens you. Education can give you employment. So if you lack good quality education, then the little knowledge you have may not help you that much. So lack of money causes many children not to attend school. Why do people lack of money? It is due to poverty. Poverty brings lack of money. So you realize that you don't have enough school fees. Maybe you go to just elementary school, elementary level, and then from there you can't proceed because you just don't have money. And many children of late are dropping in school due to lack of school fees, due to lack of money. So lack of money is a reason why there is lack of education in many individuals. Lack of education is also caused by geographical situation of a given area. There are regions that you cannot erect a building. Hilly, slopy regions or mountainous areas where you can't build, which means that you have to walk for a long distance to get the nearby school. Imagine a child walking 10 kilometers to and fro. That's 20 kilometers every day to school. That's almost impossible. It is walking 20 kilometers every day. A young boy, a young girl, it poses a very big challenge. You can't walk such long distances going to school. It is almost impossible. So regions that are not favorable for building cause lack of education. We can also talk of climate. These regions may also have unfavorable climatic conditions where you just can't go to school. Maybe it is hot, extra hot, or it is extra cold. You have to stay indoors, or the area is not completely inhabited. There are no people around there, because the climate around that region is unfavorable for human living. We are trying to discover what causes lack of education in individuals. So when education lags behind, so many things will lag behind. Working conditions will also be poor. The economy will not grow, because you can't grow an illiterate economy. That's unheard of. There has to be high level of education for an economy to grow. Education, lack of education is also caused by let's say, like those people who are born with physical challenges. Most of them are not taken to schools. They are overlooked. You find that a child is born with a certain physical. So lack of education also, you see that it has effects, and there are quite a number of them. We're going to just mention a few. Lack of education can cause low health or poor health. Poor health. Lack of education can cause poor health. Just take a walk to communities where there's no education, and you'll find that there is also poor health around that region, because education teaches hygiene, how you can maintain hygiene, body hygiene, environmental hygiene. Education teaches about sexual health. Education teaches mental health. Education teaches social health as well. So if you lack quality education, there will be a problem also in health matters. Because if you don't have, or you don't know the importance of good education, you will not also understand the importance of good health. You won't be neat and tight. You will just be rough anyhow, in any way, because you don't know the importance, you don't know the meaning. So health is connected somehow to education or to learning. So good education upgraded health, physical health, mental health, social health, and all sort of health is connected to hygiene. Lack of good education also causes unemployment. Lack of education causes unemployment. Actually, the best paying jobs are preserved for those who have high education actually. So the more learned you are, the better chances you have of securing yourself a high, good employment. If you just have a low primary, elementary education, it will be hard for you to get a good paying job, because no one is ready to hire someone who is not educated. Because many jobs today, or in many offices today, need higher education, because technology is at a higher level. So the low education, you won't make it with the higher technology nowadays. That's to say that without education, there's no employment, there's no job, because everyone is looking for an educated person. Because an educated person does his or her job better. He or she is competent in whatever they are doing. So competency is connected to education. Employment as well is connected to education. So if you want to secure a good, to be employed in an office or somewhere, strive to be educated. Strive to learn. Be educated. Lack of education will also lead to a low sound. Those who have low education, for every good and legal and valid reason, will find themselves in a low-paying job. It will mean that you will work hard to secure that low-level kind of employment because you don't have higher education. You will end up in a low-paying job because employments have classes. It will mean that the job you will have will be equal to the education you have. It will be equal to the certificates you have. That's how we begin by talking about life skills. If you have a skill, because it may be somehow impossible for many people to have higher education, but with a supplementary skill, someone will be better off. Because you can work, you can employ yourself and move on. With the education you have, you can incorporate it with the skills you have learned at home or elsewhere and move on with this life. So education will also lead to low-paying jobs. The lack of education also leads to poverty. Because with lack of employment or with low-paid jobs, that equals to poverty. Unemployment plus low-paid jobs equals to poverty. So lack of education brings poverty. It brings poverty to an individual, it brings poverty to a family, brings poverty to society, and even poverty in the whole nation. So many people are poor because they lacked good education from the beginning. Many of us are poor and are struggling in poverty because they lacked education from the word start. Because education grows someone's mind. It gives you higher and rational and critical thinking of how you can handle issues. So without education, it will be hard for a person to think or to take a better forward step. Because where do you go anyway? And if you go there, what will you go and do? What activity can you engage in if you're not educated? Education, lack of education will also lead to gender issues and problems. In many societies, don't empower certain groups to be educated. You realize that brings a kind of gender inequality. And people cannot match. People cannot be on the same line if they are not educated. If women are not taken to school, you realize that there will be a problem even in our families. It's only these days that the government is empowering women education. And girls are being taken to school. Earlier along, during those days, girls were not valued in the society. They were defined to stay just at home and give birth and just be there and die there. but they are being empowered today, and they are being taken to school, and they are being supported, and they will learn, and they'll be better placed in societies. So lack of education will bring that kind of inequality. If also boys are not taken to school, there will be also inequality between gender, even also in leadership positions. If there's lack of education, you will find that men are dominant in every area, or women are dominant in many faculties. But if there's education to both gender, there will be no problem. There will be a balance even in leadership positions. So lack of education brings a kind of isolation, because you realize that an educated person and an educated person cannot live together, because they just can't match. There will be a misfit, there will be a gap. There's a gap somewhere, because they are not on the same level. They cannot read on the same script. They don't view things from the same perspective. They don't understand from the same angle. It will be hard for a person who has education and another one who has low education. It will be very hard for them to live together. So there will be a social kind of isolation. They will struggle. Those who have little education, they'll be struggling to meet and to reach the level of those who have education. And so there will be a wide gap. So education bridges such kind of a gap and equalizes people. Yeah, it equalizes people. Because lack of education, you have said, brings poverty. If we are all educated and if all have high education, it's not to mean that all will have money or that everybody will be rich. No, but people will be on the same level. They'll be on the same ground in terms of knowledge and in terms of understanding. Remember, say that we don't go to school just to have money. There are so many other importances of being educated. Lack of education also may give birth to crime. Because in regions where people don't have education, they tend to engage in illegal activities. They tend to engage in criminal activities. You find that there is higher level abuse of drugs. There is a lot of crime all over. Because an educated person, someone who has education, has no time for criminal activities. Because he or she is busy doing something. He or she is busy engaged in a meaningful activity. So lack of education brings crime and a lot of illegalities around. So if children are not taken to school, they will engage in illegal activities from a tender age, and they will grow up goons and criminals, and it will become a society of criminals. So lack of education tends to that direction. Lack of education as well will breed a poor or a bad or underdeveloped economy. In nations where people have education, people are employed, there's employment, and they have good salary. So money is circulating, and there is better use of the available resources because there is knowledge around. there's wisdom around, and people are engaged in nation building activities. So the economy will grow, the economy will shoot up, because everybody is busy doing something that is building the. And a nation where people are educated, there is higher productivity, and there will be more productive workers. So the produce will be the best. Just look at the developed countries. You'll find that they are very far. Actually, we import so many goods and services from them because they have education, and their economies are doing well of late. Look at countries where there is low levels of education. You find that health is a problem. You will find that they can do nothing. They have nothing. The infrastructure is poor. So they can't produce anything. And they can't do anything by themselves. They will live by loans and grants throughout. So the economy will be falling down and down every day. That is brought about by lack of education. Lack of education also leads to situations whereby you cannot participate in many forums. Like, for example, you cannot engage in politics unless you have some education. You cannot vie for a political seat unless you are educated. You can't vie for a governor unless you have education. You cannot vie for a president for presidency unless you have education, because you will not make it. So lack of education will disqualify someone from so many forums, and will disqualify someone from participation in so many areas. You can't work unless you have education. So even in your social life, it will be hard to mingle and intermingle with the rest of the world, because you cannot understand things the way they are doing. So education, or lack of education, has adverse effects. So it is very important for a parent to strive and ensure that their children have education. The government is on the front line, ensuring that everyone gets quality education. So let nobody excuse him or herself and say that they cannot have education due to this or that. No. Strive and make sure that you get education the best you can afford, because it can be affordable, it can be done. If the rest did it, why not you? Why not me? Why not us? We can only rise up through education. We can only have better families through education. You can only have better jobs through education. We can only have better societies, better nations and communities through education. So minus education, nothing else will come out better in our lives. So education, in other words, leads to a good living. Education leads to an improved lifestyle. So education is life. So education for life. Try to be educated. Try to be learning. This channel is about education, learning, and inspiration. Be educated through this channel. Just subscribe